When you picture Canada, what comes to mind? For many, it's open arms, a safe haven. But what's the real story for people trying to find safety here? Well, the path to protection in Canada is actually a really complex, high-stakes legal journey. It's a far cry from the simple welcomes so many of us imagine. So today, let's pull back the curtain on this intricate system.
This quote really hits the nail on the head. It perfectly captures the tension we're going to be exploring today, that gap between Canada's welcoming reputation and the demanding on-the-ground reality for claimants. The system is there, for sure, but getting access to it is narrow and, frankly, pretty unforgiving.
All right, so here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll look at the current landscape for 2026. Then, we'll explore the two main paths to safety. From there, we're going to dive deep into the in-Canada asylum process, what we're calling the Asylum Gauntlet, and then the all-important hearing. And finally, we'll look at the incredible test of endurance that comes after a decision is made.
Okay, let's start with the here and now. The year 2026 presents a really unique and challenging picture for anyone trying to navigate this system, and you're about to see exactly why. This number, 115,000, is absolutely key to understanding everything. Right now, the Canadian government is focusing on this massive group of people who are already in Canada and have already been approved as refugees. The idea is to clear a huge backlog, which sounds great, right? But the side effect is that anyone arriving now faces an even more congested system and a potentially way longer wait. This context is just crucial.
So how does someone even start? Well, there are basically two main doors into Canada's protection system. And the critical thing to get is that your physical location, not your personal choice, is what decides which door is even available to you. Think of it like this. On one side, you have people being resettled from abroad, usually from refugee camps overseas. On the other, you have people who somehow manage to get to Canada first and then ask for protection. These two systems operate in parallel worlds, with completely different rules, processes, and honestly, very different chances of success. And here's the catch with this first path. You can't just apply. You can't just go online and fill out a form. You have to be referred, either by the United Nations Refugee Agency or an approved private sponsorship group. And believe me, those spots are incredibly rare. They represent a tiny, tiny fraction of the world's displaced people. And that brings us to the second path, the one we're really going to focus on for the rest of his explainer. This is for the people who, against all odds, make it to Canadian soil and ask for protection right then and there. This is where the real gauntlet begins. And we're calling it the Asylum Gauntlet for a reason. It is not a welcoming committee. It is a series of demanding, stressful legal hurdles. One misstep, one forgotten detail, one wrong answer, and it can mean the end of your claim. So what does it actually take to qualify? It's not about wanting a better life or escaping general hardship. It's about meeting a very strict, very specific legal definition of who needs protection. Let's break that down. This right here, this is the absolute core of the legal test. You have to prove you have a well-founded fear of persecution for one of these 5 specific reasons. And this isn't about a general feeling of being unsafe. It's about proving a personal, credible, and ongoing threat to your life or your fundamental freedoms. And this slide is so important because it clears up some really common and totally understandable misconceptions. The system, as it's designed right now, is not for people fleeing poverty or the chaos of a natural disaster. It's exclusively for those who can prove they fit that very narrow legal definition of persecution. Now, for anyone arriving from the United States, there's another huge hurdle, the Safe Third Country Agreement. In simple terms, this agreement basically says, hey, you are already in a safe country, the US, so you should have asked for asylum there. For many, many people arriving at a land border, this policy closes the door to Canada before they can even make their case. There are a few, and I mean very few, narrow exceptions. For instance, if you have certain family members already in Canada, or you're a minor traveling alone, you might still be able to make a claim. But for the vast majority of people, that land border is effectively sealed. So, if you manage to get past those initial barriers, this is the journey. You make your claim, you get your documents, and crucially, you can apply for a work permit. That permit is an absolute lifeline. It lets you support yourself while you wait. But every single step on this path leads to one critical day, the hearing. Everything in this process, all the paperwork, the interviews, the months and years of waiting, it all culminates in this one moment. It is, quite literally, the day your life story is put on trial. I really can't overstate the importance of this day.
For a few hours, you sit in front of a single decision maker who listens to your story and decides your entire future. You get one chance in that one room to prove your case.
This is maybe the most important piece of information for any claimant to understand. The entire system is built on credibility. A small mistake under incredible pressure, mixing up a date, forgetting a name, a detail that's just a little bit different from a form you filled out months or even years ago, can cause a decision maker to doubt your whole story. And that can unravel your entire case, even if the danger you fled is horrifyingly real. So, beyond those simple inconsistencies, these are the three main legal arguments for refusal. The board member will ask, could you have just moved to another city in your country to be safe? Or did you try going to the police for help before you fled? If your answers aren't convincing, your claim can fail no matter how real the danger was.
And you'd think that for those who succeed at their hearing, the journey would be over, but it's not. A positive decision is just the beginning of a whole new test of endurance, the long, stressful, and often agonizing wait for permanent residency. Just imagine living in limbo for up to 2 years. Your whole life is completely on hold, just waiting for that one single day that will determine your entire future. You can work, sure, but you can't really put down roots, you can't bring family over, and the psychological stress is just immense.
And this is the part that's just staggering. After you've won your case and been officially recognized as a refugee, you face another wait of up to 4 years just to become a permanent resident. So, you add it all up. And from the day you claim asylum to the day you can finally call Canada home, it can be a total of 5, 6, or even more years.
Okay, let's talk about the financial side for a second. While making an asylum claim itself is free, you can see that other pathways like private sponsorship require tens of thousands of dollars in settlement funds. And even successful asylum seekers, after all those years of waiting, still have to pay hundreds of dollars for their final permanent residence application.
So we end with this question. The system is designed to find the truth, but it often demands perfect memory and flawless storytelling from people who've experienced unimaginable trauma. So when the consistency of a story starts to matter more than the actual danger someone fled, what does that say about the system itself? Is it possible that the process, with its intense focus on credibility over context, has become the biggest barrier of all? What do you think?